Supporting youth isn't just about providing shelter. It's about equipping young people with the skills and opportunities they need to navigate adulthood. Something as simple as learning how to do taxes or having access to driving lessons can make all the difference in building independence and stability. And yet for so many, these basic opportunities remain out of reach. In Calgary, and in various other places in Alberta, we don't nearly see enough being done for the youth in our communities. There are young people in our communities with the potential to thrive, yet they lack the support they need to do so. That's why the conversations we've had here cannot stay only within these walls. What we've shared, what we've written in this report, it all needs to reach the decision makers who can shape our future. Because as policies are introduced, as governments shift their focus to do oil and gas, economic growth, and infrastructure, we have to ask, where are the youth in these discussions? What about the young people struggling to find housing? What about those aging out of the foster care system with nowhere to turn? What about those who just need a safe space to be heard? Our voices must be a part of these decisions, not as a checkbox in a report, not as an afterthought, but as a driving force for real, tangible change. If nothing else, I hope that this event, this weekend, this report, and our words today serve as a reminder that youth are not just the future, we are the present, and we will not be ignored.
First, when I came here, it was really hard for me because, first of all, I didn't know the language and everything, but I definitely had to go through a lot of racism. And at my first school, I was being bullied by two girls, and it was like horrible. Like, I didn't understand what they were saying or anything. They just make fun of me. They push me in the room, in the locker rooms and stuff. Until I get to a point I had to be eating even my lunch at the washroom, and like just because those girls. And yeah, like also like I changed the schools again, and now it was with the teachers. The teachers didn't help me. I didn't get enough help from the teachers. They just looked at me like I was weird, like I was different from the kids. I have gone through schools like it's every time like a new story. When I was on my first year of high school, I was in grade 10. I had to take care of my sister because my dad and my mom, they were working really hard for us to have a place, to have food, to have everything. Then I couldn't go to school sometimes because I had to take care of my sister. And this teacher say like, why you didn't do the homework, why you haven't come? And the reason was because I was taking care of my sister, because she didn't have a place to stay. My mom couldn't afford a daycare, so I had to take care and look up for her. And yeah. We are kids too, but we're invisible for them because they just see the worker. They don't see what is behind the worker. They have to look what is behind the worker. Apparently Canada is a safe place for everybody, but they're not giving us a safe place. Apparently Canada too is really great for studying, and it's a third world schools and everything, and they give you the rights. We don't have rights. They literally denying us a school.
I don't like people who hate other people. It doesn't really make any sense, and there's a lot of homophobia and some like racism in Grand Prairie, but it's sort of getting swept under the rug, which I have faced some, and I've heard a lot of my LGBTQ friends face a lot of homophobia. It's just like, we're all human. If you get cut, you bleed, we all feel, we all bleed the same color. So it's like, why hate when we all are human, you know? But what reminds me of that is, there's this one guy. What he would do, he's this black guy. I remember hearing the story, and I was sort of trying to live up to what he does. What he does is he meets with like KKK people, and what he does is he gets them out of the KKK, and they leave it. They give him his robes, and then so he sort of has his robes. But how he does it is he doesn't go up to them and go like, "It's all your fault. You're the problem. You're the reason why." No, he talks to them how he wants to be talked to, like a human. And I feel like showing kindness is the best way to get rid of all this hate. Is because as soon as you antagonize someone, then they're going to antagonize you back, and it's going to go over and over again. But if you show kindness to that person, then they might feel bad for showing rudeness to you. So I always try to treat others the way I want to be treated. And the guy I was talking about, a lot of people gave up being racist and all that, which really cool.
I guess I've noticed some things recently that, like in the political sphere and the just society in general, that are kind of concerning. So for me, one of my big issues is that we can't see people anymore in problems. So all of our issues have become very politicized. So they're very left or right. So if you're on the left side, you believe in this. If you're on the right side, you believe in this. But I don't think it's really that simple. I don't think society is that simple. And so me, I'm transgender. And I've noticed recently that my identity has been very politicized. It's been very controversial, which is really sad because it's not like people's identities should be a political statement. Me being something shouldn't be a political statement. And I live in Grand Prairie, but recently in our surrounding area in Valley View, there's a group that was protesting against the library there because they were holding a safe space for queer students through GSA. And they're trying to ban certain books. So that really politicized a whole issue of having a safe space for people, which is really sad because it's not like these youth were trying to indoctrinate people or anything. There was just youth trying to connect together. And it really pushed people away. Like, there were some very angry people protesting outside of there, and you can even see it in our city hall. There's been some comments about cat litter in schools and stuff, which is just like factually not true. But it creates a air of animosity that extends through all of society and will affect the people that this issue is about, not just who you're facing. It will affect the group as a whole. And it's not just trans people you see with this with. You can also see with the homeless people. They make it seem as a problem. They don't see the people behind the issue. They just see the issue. They're like, oh, well, they make the streets unclean. They make it unsafe. But it's like, you don't do anything to fix that. You just put in the hostile architecture, but you don't actually put in the shelters or the resources. And so for me, I think a big proponent in this is media. I think media is really, really politicized and polarized our society and put us against one another, because the more angry something is, the more clickbaity it is, the more clicks it gets. And the politicians haven't helped. They've been using these communities as pillars for their political campaigns, which is incredibly, incredibly damaging to these communities. So I would just really like for politicians and the media and even people in general to really think about what they post and to not take human issues and politicize them in ways that will affect the systems and society and will create such a negative environment around these issues. As if we all could come together and we could put our differences aside, and we cannot make these issues about our political ideologies, but about the people and how we can help one another, I think we could really make some change.
Meeting people is creating a new intersection in my personal experience. You never know when your paths may cross again. You may see them again, you may travel with them, or you may never have an interaction with them again. I found family and friends, they often ended up traveling with me after meeting me at an intersection, like metaphorically. It gave me a lot of insight on different stories, and each story, in my opinion, is valid. I often found myself meeting people and getting caught up with their stories. Some struggled with abuse, some struggled with drug use, and some struggled with mental health, and some struggled with like other problems. Some didn't make it, unfortunately. But they all stuck with me one way or another, truly making each part of me like a puzzle. I found myself trying to empathize with everyone and really wanting to make change after, like especially after Rock Soup and getting to meet those people and like know their stories. And then after some people very close to me passed away from drug use, it really impacted me. And it really pushed me into a direction of like wanting change. I wish humanity had more empathy and willingness to help those we meet at our intersections. I believe that everyone should respect each other's identities and differences. The conversations we had yesterday really solidified the ideas for me. I really believe that we need more empathy in the world.
To the government people who may or may not watch this, I know that you've probably heard this a lot, but do better. Also, if you're going to be making like programs or whatever towards like a very specific like audience or whatever, if you even care to do that, could you at least talk to them? Could you like actually gather like more than your token person? Like if you're going to make a program about queer people, can you actually ask the queer people, not person, you know? Anyway, women's rights. Live, love, love. Thanks.
Coming to Canada as a young adult, navigating the system, I knew nothing about the Indigenous community, knew nothing about their struggles. My dad had to teach me this at home. I went to high school and I never heard anything about the Indigenous community. All I saw were people sleeping on the streets. And I started asking questions. Who are these people? Why are they on the streets? And that's how I got to know about the natives and some of the things they've gone through. And it's very disheartening that as Canadians, we still do not understand how to take charge of what's the damage that's been done and how to correct some of these mistakes. Instead, we exacerbate the situations and make things worse. And so I have a message for our dear policymakers, and I'm going to read this directly to you. Thanks for all your hard work in making our country a worse place. We appreciate your efforts in perpetuating systemic racism and poverty's dark face. Keep up with the great work, and remember, when in doubt, just blame the poor people, the Indigenous and the colored folks, and you'll never be wrong.
There's supposed to be an I in identity. However, for some, like me, there's not. For some, the me they're supposed to find in themselves is just a pale imitative reflection of their parents, or something prescribed to them, something that they don't want to be, and not authentically who they are. When I was growing up, identity was something prescribed to me, given to me by others in the same fashion that an actor is given a role in a play. However, this play was my life and the actor was me. How can you be an actor in your own life, you may be asking? Well, it's easy. Under a prescribed or family-ordained identity, a person is not living their life. They are simply surviving via fawning response and people-pleasing. Like when I was a child and I so desperately wanted to wear skirts and pink frilly shirts like my sister and all the other feminine people in my life. My family had other ideas. My mother countless times would tell me that I could only express that part of myself home alone, where no one could see me and the outside was unable to watch. She said this was because others would react poorly, or she was scared on how others would react. That isn't fully true. Her ego got bruised every time her little boy donned a pink frilly skirt. She didn't want that shame to be broadcast and made public. The more I listened to my family's guidance, laced with misdirection and infused with generations of self-loathing, the dimmer my light got. I grew into a conflicted child, angry at the world. I couldn't understand why people couldn't see me. It was really simple. I wasn't me. I was Zachary, the kid my parents forced me to be, to the degree that I attempted my own life prematurely 50 times as of writing this passage. Due to this conflict, I didn't know who I was. I was lost in my own body. I felt prisoner, forced to be another. As I grew further, I shed away Zachary. Like an old coat that was too tight, it was hard and painful to do. I still have the proverbial scars to prove that it was there, though. The more that Zachary fell away, the more I was able to find the real me. Magpie, that scared little kid who swore that the nicest thing that anyone had ever done for them was when their father stopped hitting them. Now, I still grow. As I spread my wings, I soar. Each moment is a little victory. Because I finally am me, and I know who I am is not just who I think others want me to be either. I stand here today, myself, unabashedly me. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. It's all me. As life goes on, it makes me think more and more of Maya Angelou. And just like her, I have found out myself why the caged bird sings. It's to say, I am here. I am me. And with my last moments I have of yours, I wanted to share some of her words that have saved me. From her poem, Alone, they go as follows. Lying, thinking, last night, how I can find my soul a home where the water is not thirsty and bread loaf is not stone. I came up with one thing, and I don't believe I'm wrong, that nobody, but nobody, can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone, nobody, but nobody can make it out here alone.
So my poem is called Shallow Talks. The government speaks a scripted refrain. We are helping the vulnerable. We are making a change. But behind the scenes, a different story unfolds, a reality of neglect, a systematic code. They promise to protect, to serve, and to care, but the police arrive and tension escalates, not subside with no one to blame. The vulnerable are left, more broken, more worn, their voices silenced, their stories untold and ignored. The media broadcasts a curated view, a sanitized narrative that conceals the truth and shields the powerful and their corrupt crew. Important news is suppressed and trivialized, while the real issue, the systematic injustice, are minimized and demonized. The government's words, a shallow, hollow sound, a meaningless mantra that's repeated but never backed up or acted upon and never turned into policy or law. Their actions, a betrayal, a slap in the face, a reminder that power and privilege always take precedence and win the race. We are fed a diet of half-truths and lies, a manipulated narrative that keeps us divided and in the dark and ignorant and misinformed and paralyzed. But we won't be silenced. We won't be swayed. We'll seek out the truth and we'll have our say.
To start off with, our regulations on like bylaws surrounding the unhoused. So having bylaw officers and transit cops on transit to ticket or like penalize people who are sleeping on transit where it's warm, opposed to where it is freezing outside, where they will die. Like, it is penalizing survival. It is punishing people for wanting to live. That is dehumanizing to its core. So I would suggest that we look at our bylaw policies, our bylaw actions, and see if they are important, if we actually need them. A lot of the anti-homeless architecture, bars in between benches or spikes on the sidewalk or the weird ridges. I don't know if you guys realize those screw with like disabled folk as well. Like, my mom is disabled and she rides in a scooter, and when you guys put ridges there for anti-homeless architecture so they can't sleep, she can't drive over that. Like, you are impeding her life as well. Aside from the fact that you are criminalizing people and harming them because they want to sleep. Like, anyways, so that maybe some policies on price gouging for the housing. Our downtown core is one of the most unlivable places in Calgary. It is ridiculously high for rent for small places that aren't worth the money. Put a cap on rent, put a cap on the amount that these corporations can charge people, because let's be real, the landlords that we're all talking about, they aren't people. They're not just the individuals that are living there. The majority of them are corporations that don't even live in Canada. They don't care about us. They are making money off of us. And for the individual owners that are renting, for the people who have to rent for money, give them subsidies, subsidize them so that they don't have to charge people ridiculous amounts of money in order to live. Because in both, they're being exploited. So making it so that there's not so much conflict between the people who are living and the people who are providing living is quintessential. If you don't want to get rid of landlords, whatever, but at least minimize it. Minimize the harm that's being done. Our safe injection site is, the staff there are doing their best. From what I've seen, it's doing pretty well. They're saving lives. Opening up more. I know that that's federal funding predominantly, but it's something that the city could be pushing. It is something that the politicians, the mayor, could be advocating for, is for safe injection, harm reduction, not even just safe injection, just harm reduction policies, harm reduction action that is not, going and beating up people who are intoxicated and aggressive to the police, teaching the police that they should not be the ones responding to intox reports or intox calls. They are not trained for that. Put through some funding for mental health professionals that will acknowledge and understand that people are going through crises and they are not inherently bad. Pride this past year had an issue with its security and police. Many advocates were asking for Pride to not have cops at the parade, and they responded with, it is a city bylaw. Take that bylaw out. We can take care of ourselves. We do not need police officers. We do not need control. We can care for ourselves. I remember going to Pride 2 years ago, and there was a fellow on a bike who was riding along, and the cops came on their bicycles, drove, cut him off, tackled him, and slammed him onto the road in front of a bunch of people there for the Pride celebration, waiting for the parade to start. People recorded, I spoke out, my mother spoke out, again, in a wheelchair, but it was very, very few of us. And when we spoke to Pride about it, again, it was, well, we have to have the police there. The police are not protecting these people. They are doing more harm than good. If you even want to have private security be a requirement, sure, have that go forward. But the police do not need to be at every single gathering. They do not need to be patrolling the streets 24/7. They are a last resort. They should not be the first ones to be called.
When I first got asked this question, what do intersections mean? I thought about the roads and the stops and about how the 3 seconds you are across from someone, it's the 3 seconds you aren't judging them and they aren't judging you. As if you were both same because you're both just driving on the road or just a pedestrian trying to cross the street. But now, after hearing what everyone else has to say yesterday about intersections, now they mean to me that if you are friends with someone and connected, or connected with the community, you are crossing paths with so many people you wouldn't even know. A big thing that I thought about and still am thinking about is the red string, and how even if you're just friends with somebody or you were in a past relationship with somebody, you're still connected through a red string. And that still tugs on my heartstrings, because the red string being connected to somebody who I was like past tense with or whatever, I don't want to see that for myself again. And another thing that comes to my mind is my parents, and how my parents got treated and how they treated me. They treated me the same way that their parents treated them, and they went down the same road in the same intersections their parents did. I started to go down some bad paths that I don't ever want to have again. I want to break the barriers, and instead of going straight, take a left, because down the line I want my kids to go down the same intersection I did, because it was the right way, not because they had to. So my perspective of intersections would be the way you navigate through life. If there is a bump in the road and you decide to keep taking the bumpy road or go down the paved one. Because if you keep going down the non-paved road, it might be too late to turn back.
Welcome to Canada, where the maple leaf waves and the poor are criminalized in a never-ending maze. We're proud of our diversity and our inclusivity too. But if you're homeless, addicted, or mentally ill, well, that's a different story, boo. Our police are well trained with tasers at the ready to keep those pesky poor people in their place, quiet, steady. And if you're Indigenous, well, yeah, sorry for the whole residential school thing, but let's not get too deep into that. Let's not get carried away by the apologies. We've got carding, profiling, systemic racism too, to keep our colored folks in check. It's a part of our diversity. And don't even get us started on our mental health services, where the wait times are so long, you'll be dead before you even get your turn. But hey, we're a great country, fantastic reputation for ignoring our problems and perpetuating desperation. Come down and experience it for yourself if you want to. The Canadian dream, where poverty and despair are just a part of our wealth.